Hello there, adventurers. It's a little hard to see us. I'm Ben.
Danielle.
And you're watching the...
Malik Adventures.
Yes, that thing. I promise. We are here. It's just really hard to see us. If you're new to the channel, Astro says...
Go subscribe.
If you're a returning member to the channel, Rocky says...
Hello.
And everybody, make sure you like the video.
Subscribe.
Comment down below. And...
share the video.
Yes. But first... Now you can't even see us, so... Yeah. So you can see us a little bit better. We're on location. Where are we at, Danielle?
All right, Fort Scott, the historical site.
Yes, we are here for a candlelight tour where they're going to give us a tour of the grounds with an emphasis on kind of like how things were back in the olden times, like mid-1800s. Oh, that was a good bit of light there.
Come back, truck.
Yeah. So we're going to walk around. It's going to be pretty hard to see because of how little light there is. I don't know how it's going to end up, but
we'll see.
Look at that behind us. Look at all that back there. But oh, there we go. You see it? Oh, we're gone. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you back here at the end.
Today is Emily Fisher, and she will be with us in just a few moments. Welcome to the Candlelight Tour. This year's tour is titled Glowing Heartbeats of History, and we'll be focusing on how the people of Fort Scott in the mid-19th century addressed multiple different aspects of health, including physical health, social health, emotional health, and spiritual health. Even during tough times, as we've experienced over these past few years, people still find ways to take care of their own health and the health of others while looking forward to a better future. We will focus on the specific ways that people did this here at the fort. So we have 5 different scenes, and each of them will take place in the time period between 1842, when the fort was first established, until the mid-1860s, around the end of the Civil War. Now, some of these scenes might require a bit of audience participation, so please feel free to join in whenever there are questions that are asked. Now, let's go over just some logistics of the tour. So stationed here in the early 1840s was a special kind of soldier, and they were known as the Dragoons. The Dragoons were the elite fighting force of the time. Much like infantry, they were trained to fight on foot, but they were also very skilled horsemen. And the speed by which troops could be deployed on horseback allowed Dragoon companies to mobilize soldiers very quickly and effectively. And as such, their position just outside of the western U.S. border at the time, it was very much strategic. And also keep in mind with all of this that taking care of their horses was not a matter to be taken lightly. Horses were their transportation, often they were a weapon, and in many cases they were seen as a friend. So we'll see how how the horses were taken care of in our next scene, which is over here by the entrance to the stable. And the idea of a permanent Indian frontier was abandoned in 1854 when the Kansas and Nebraska territories were established. Fort Scott was abandoned in 1853 as a military base, and it was sold off at auction 2 years later as white settlers were pouring into Kansas en masse. So when Congress established Kansas as a territory in 1854, it declared that the issue of slavery was to be decided upon by a popular vote. Now, keep this in mind. The popular vote at this time did not include women, did not include people of color. And as such, white men were the only voice that was heard in this vote. Even considering this, the opportunity to instill their values attracted people from far and wide. So this area experienced rapid change in the late 1850s. From Osage territory to a frontier fort to a burgeoning town, the soldiers and citizens of Fort Scott were forced to reckon with this change head on, as we will witness in our next scene. So violence erupted around the issue of abolition of slavery in the late 1850s, and this time period is now often coined as the Bleeding Kansas era. Even considering all the turmoil that took place in this area at that time, people were still able to find a bit of normalcy in their lives. Dancing, falling in love, getting married, these aren't really things that we associate with the eve of the Civil War, and yet we'll witness a bit of this in our next scene, which is daily life from 1858. So we'll make our way over here to the well canopy. We're gonna have to wait for it tonight.
Well, I must say, William, the ball last night was wonderful.
You can thank my wife for that. She kept me out of the house most of the day. She didn't
I
want me to
understand
do-
you were away on business.
Yes, territorial business is keeping me busy these
I
days.
imagine so. But I have to tell you, as enjoyable as the ball was, my favorite part was the very fact that there were no horses on the dance floor.
That must have been a Missourian.
I have to tell you, when my wife and I made our New Year's call on the McDonald home, one of the guests rode his horse into the dining room and around the dining room table, picked up a glass, drank it, set it back down on the table, still on his horse, rode around the table at least twice more, and then left.
I'll take that back. Had there been a Texan to ride like that, Missourians would fall off their mules.
It must have been a Texan, because he did all of that and did not break a single dish of Mrs. McDonald's china. He had to be a bit of a horseman.
Yes, he did.
He also had to be, I believe, a bit in his cups.
Probably.
Yeah, but now, I heard, was that Josie?
Josie?
That would rode the horse?
It could have been. I don't recall offhand.
I would have fallen off the horse just trying to get through the front door.
Yeah. Or at least lose your hat going through
Yeah.
the door.
But to see our town growing, we've only been here since January, and yet we have we have a hotel.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
another hotel across the way. For some reason, our Kansas hotel got the nickname the Free State Hotel, and the Westerner across the street got the name the Pro-Slavery. When are we going to get away from all this division?
I don't.
Yes, and you know, the challenges of the political parties kind of associated with each one,
Yes.
you know, is just kind of continues that unrest in our community.
And then Montgomery is not helping one bit with all the
Yeah.
problems that he's causing around.
And when I had to send the marshal to deal with that, and you know, as we know, it resulted in violence.
Unfortunately.
But you know, Marshall was
Speaking of the marshal, I have to tell you that him and your daughter spent quite a bit of time together at the ball.
Yes, I noticed that myself.
Oh,
In
by
fact,
the way,
Where's mother?
I did not know she was, I think she went back to check her soup. You know how particular she is about her soup that's cooking on the stove. Marshall, well, it's nice to see you too, sir.
See you.
Did you both enjoy yourself last night at the ball?
Yes, it was wonderful.
It was a very nice ball, although you youngsters kept us up quite a bit with the dancing. I can't do like I did before my family came over to the New World. We used to dance quite well over the lowlands of Scotland, but I'm too old for that now.
Well, I understand they kept the fiddle player going until the wee hours of the morning.
Yes, way too much in the wee hours. I woke up too early. So you all are out walking without a chaperone? Well, I respect you for that. Just realize you are in public and do behave yourselves accordingly. I think, looking at the marshal the way he looks at Cindy, that I will be getting asked shortly for his permission to call upon my daughter. And from what you all have told me about his family and the way he handled himself in the Montgomery incident,
if we weren't here, he may have spoken to you about.
I
Yeah, of
understand
course,
that.
yeah.
I understand that. It's a very hard thing to talk about.
Yeah, especially then when you had two straight, yep.
Yes.
Well, it was
Two
very
initial people.
obvious at the ball last night.
So Fort Scott became an important supply depot, training ground, and recruitment center for the Union Army at this time. And beginning in 1862, James Henry Lane began to recruit free black men, as well as those who had escaped the bonds of slavery, into the Union Army right here in Kansas. So the first Kansas Colored Infantry Regiment was officially mustered into service here in Fort Scott in January of 1863, which is following the Emancipation Proclamation, which officially authorized these soldiers as combat troops. So ultimately, black soldiers would begin to fight for black liberation, which ultimately changed the tide of the war. Now, the fight for human and civil rights was not just limited to people of color. Women also played a crucial role on the front lines and at home. So women were often involved in farming or business roles, as their fathers, husbands, and sons were drafted into service en masse. Also, some women disguised themselves as men and fought alongside their male counterparts. And for the first time ever, women were allowed to serve in the Army as nurses. Now, the Civil War, it was devastating in terms of battle casualties, but even more perished because of the diseases that were caused by unsanitary conditions at this time. Women would form aid societies which aimed at lessening the spread of these diseases, collecting supplies and assisting in field hospitals. These women would often continue this work after the war was over. So we will now witness the rigors that these women would experience in caretaking of the soldiers during the Civil War. So,
And this is right after the massacre that happened over near Marmaton. There were 6 that were killed. One was only a mere boy.
Oh, the massacre of Marmaton was a dreadful affair. The bushwhackers even set the whole town ablaze.
Well, then, we're taking care of the survivors of Marmaton as well as the survivors of Mine Creek, I guess.
Yes, sir. That's
sadly.
correct.
Oh, Doctor, would you have a moment to look after this soldier? Yes, yes. I'll help you.
Gently, we don't want him to go any worse
Well,
than he
of
already
course.
does.
Well, the soldier's able to walk at any rate. That's a promising sign. Did you walk all the way from Mine Creek by any chance?
I did.
We've had a number of walking wounded, but I don't know, it doesn't look like you've suffered a wound so much as
Well,
you're ill.
when I found him, he was coughing something awful and absolutely burning up.
All right, that's a fever then now.
What type of fever?
Well, we need to find out a few things. You know, there's some geographical answers here for one thing. Any low-lying area where there are miasms in the air, people inhale those, that's where some of your worst fevers come from.
Oh, well, where have you been recently?
Missouri, perhaps? Well, that's one area where that happens. Also over here in Kansas, that's by Meredithine, Marsh of the Swans, you know. So anyway, I'm thinking, have you ever had malaria that you know of? Well, you may have it now. We need to get the temperature down. So let's get a cold, wet rag put on his head.
Well,
I'll be right over.
Doctor, do you think that he'll be all right?
If we could get some quinine, we do have some quinine left.
Oh,
don't we?
yes, of course. I'll go fetch
Well,
it.
we'll get him a supply
This will
now
help
and
break
then.
the fever. Put it right on your forehead.
And we'll need to see the quartermaster of the unit about getting some more quinine. If you keep taking it, I'll let him know. Okay? If you don't keep taking quinine, the fever's going to come back years and years later. If you don't like the taste of the quinine now, some people go, it is rather bitter. They say it goes down a lot better with a shot of gin.
Now, Doctor, I think the real problem with this soldier is he looks very homesick. How long has it been since you've written home to your family? Your mother must be just frantic with worry. We're going to take care of that right now. I'm going to help you write a letter that you can get sent right away. Mothers worry about their children, especially in dark times like these. Dear family, I've been in a terrible battle at Mine Creek, but I wasn't wounded. I do have a fever, but Dr. Nelson said that I should be better soon with quinine.
it is good that we'll be able to write at least one positive letter.
Oh, so much better than the sad ones I've had to write earlier this week.
Well, I think your opinion of what's in the tent is about the same as mine.
I don't think the
know
boys
what
in
else
there
we
are going to
can
get
do
to
for
write
them.
home.
I don't know what else we can do for them.
I suppose all we can do is in the spiritual realm now.
I don't, yeah.
May I lead us in prayer over these poor
Oh,
soldiers?
let me quickly finish this.
That's probably all we can do for them.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, lay these poor soldiers' souls to rest, to a land where there's no war, that they're not the last ones. Amen.
Amen.
Now, soldier, you be sure
Let's
to make your mark or sign this letter and
give
turn
these
it in
people
a
their
mail
space
call,
for this solemn
and the Sanitary
occasion,
Commission will be sure to
and
get to
make
your
our way
family.
to a reckoning with the scars of slavery. So, in our next scene, we'll get a glimpse of peace as the soldiers, they were nearing the end of their service. They were reuniting with loved ones, and they were celebrating the holidays once again. So in our next scene, we will be serenaded with song.
Elephant, he comes at last. Noah says you drunk. No, says he, it took me all this time to pack my trunk. Then walk right in and say, walk right in. Hear my banjo play, walk into the parlor. Hear my banjo ring, watch my lightning fingers as they dance across the string.
Well, Sergeant, it seems like our music's drawing in a crowd.
Well, Private, that's not much of a surprise. You know, honestly, it was music that actually helped sustain me through this war.
Well, I am just so glad that you boys are home safe and now we can focus on a peaceful Christmas time.
You know, I'm as excited for a peaceful Christmas as anybody. Heaven knows I've had enough of this war. But I think some people are forgetting that the war is not over. General Lee's still held up out there outside of Richmond. Doesn't look like he's going to budge anytime soon. And General Wade's still causing problems down in Indian Territory.
Well, but it is for the two of you. You were both discharged and we can now focus on what's next.
You know, right? She's right. And we've got cause for celebration. Matter of fact, let's play a tune to celebrate. Let's do Battle Cry of Freedom. And if you guys happen to know the song, sing along with us. Yes, we'll rally round the flag, boys, we'll rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. We will rally from the hillside, we'll gather from the plains, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitor and up with the star, while we rally round the flag, boys will rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom.
Well, and that is a great song, but it is a song about war, and we're so close to Christmas time. Shouldn't we be singing a song about Christmas?
You know, I remember a Christmas Eve about 2 years ago. We were camped out in the field. The Confederates weren't far away. I still to this day don't know how it happened. Nobody talked about it. It wasn't planned. But what started as yelling and shouting back and forth at one another turned into a Christmas Eve truce. The next thing you know, we're exchanging gifts and just having a camaraderie together, which was amazing because just a few days before we've been facing each other on the field of battle. No matter how much I've thought about it, I can't figure out what it was that allowed us to come together on that special night.
Private, you know what? That brings to mind another memory I have. It was on a night not too unlike tonight. We were camped close to the Confederates, and Union Group just started singing some songs, some patriotic songs, just like the one we just played. And then the Confederates, not to be outdone, started piping up on their side with some Dixie and some Bonnie Blue Flag, and we just kind of gave it back over, and it kind of went back and forth and got just super loud. And then all of a sudden it got really quiet. And the next thing you know, both camps started singing
Silent Night, that's the perfect song. We should sing Silent Night, a song about peace and healing in this time of long war. So, would you all care to sing with us, Silent Night? Silent night,
holy night. All is calm, all is bright. Crown young virgin, mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Let's end.
How'd you think of it, Danielle?
I liked how romantic the candlelights are. The reenactors,
They did a good
three-fourths
job.
of them did a really good job.
Yeah. Would you come back?
Yes.
Yeah, we would come back. It was fun. It sounds like they do a different theme every year.
Yeah.
But sorry for how dark it was. Literally, the only light was candles. Obviously,
Hence
that's why
the
it's
Candlelight Tour.
yeah. But hopefully, you got to hear a lot and maybe see a lot. I don't know how the video turned out with as little light there was. But we had fun. We're gonna end it here, and until next time, friends, make sure you stay safe
Stay magical.
and keep adventuring,
Touring.
touring,
Supporting
historical societies,
national parks.
whatever it said down below. We'll see you next time.
Bye.